Hi everybody. On today's episode, I'm taking you around Charlotte and we are going to learn about some cemeteries around town. Um, Julie and I promise this isn't going to turn into a cemetery channel, but we do both really enjoy learning history, um, and history that is not relatively available. New, things that fly under the radar that a lot of people don't know about. We're both from the Charlotte area, and I guarantee you there's some places that I'm gonna head out today that neither one of us have ever been to before. I think it's important to tell these stories to make people aware of these places, not only to protect the sites, but to educate others. Really excited to take you along with me. Bring Julie along because I know there's some places she's never been before. And I'm really excited to learn about these places and these people. So let's go. This is the Mowing Glade AME Zion Church, located in Far East Charlotte off of Albemarle Road near Harrisburg Road. It used to be called Mowing Glade, and per the church's website, it's unknown if the church began in the shade of a big oak tree, someone's home, or it could have been in a cotton field. The original name and exact date of this great church is forever lost. All information was obtained verbally from a few people in the early years of the church. All information leads one to believe the church was built in the mid to late 1800s. It is felt that most of the information about the church was lost in a fire when it burned in 1918. Under the leadership of Reverend C.W. Simmons, the members and officers of the church rebuilt and continued to move forward as it had done before. On February 18, 1970, another fire destroyed the building yet again. Through all of this, the church continued to meet and eventually rebuild. From the Comprehensive Genealogical Services website, there are around 20 enslaved or formerly enslaved people buried at this location, and altogether there are around 207 graves dating back to the mid to late 1800s. Some of the earliest burials here include Caleb King, Nelson Carlock, and Tabby Johnson. Per an article from the Charlotte Landmarks Commission, churches such as this one functioned as anchors for the community around them. Today, all of these churches operate out of sanctuaries of recent construction that are located on or near the sites of the original structure and are adjacent to their original churchyards. African Americans in rural Mecklenburg depended on their churches as primary source of solace, as well as a center of entertainment and sociability. The church was the site of worship as well as after-church courting, ball games, and picnics. These churches also were the new center for farm families who did not have opportunities for social contact that were taken for granted by urban people. Going to church on Sunday was the culminating event of the week. Those who lived close to the church walked to Sunday services. Those who had to travel long distances arrived in surreys, mule carts, or ox carts. It was common for families to travel miles for Sunday services. A few things that really stood out to me while visiting this location was the Thelma Rainey Brown Rose Garden. Thelma was born in 1922 and passed in 1996. While I couldn't find much on the life of Thelma, I know she had to have a huge impact on her community to be remembered in such a beautiful way. Next, we're visiting Roseland Cemetery. Located at the rear of the Address Galleria Apartments, the Roseland Cemetery is a historic resting place of over 70 African Americans and former slaves, many of whom resided in the Cresdell community. Burial dates at Roseland Cemetery range from 1865 to 1955. Roseland Cemetery was designated a historic landmark by the Charlotte Mecklenburg Historic Landmarks Commission in 2012. Until the later half of the 20th century, there was a forgotten community just outside the original town boundaries of Matthews, this area known today as Cresdell, but in the late 1870s had a moniker of Tank Town. The community dates from the late 1860s and originally settled by freemen and free slaves. Cresdell's early history is obscure. No one seems to know anything about the original inhabitants or how they came to settle there. Most Tanktown residents were sharecroppers or day laborers in Matthews. Cresdell is one of North Carolina's oldest African American communities dating back to the 1860s. The town of Matthews and the Cresdell community worked closely to ensure the preservation of the area's rich history by constructing the Matthews Heritage Trail. Along the trail, you can find signage that highlights historical facts about Cresdell. At the cemetery, you'll see some areas of ground covered in periwinkle, and other areas are sunken, indicating settled graves. Only a few gravestones remain. The Mecklenburg County Historical Report describes Roseland as a hidden gem of historical information encompassing 2 centuries of African American history in this county. The Roseland Cemetery is one of the few reminders of quickly disappearing rural African American experiences in Mecklenburg County in the years following emancipation through the last decade of the Jim Crow segregation. This historic cemetery provides an important reminder of the hardships faced by African Americans after the emancipation, when 40% of the Mecklenburg population was freed from slavery. In fact, the predominantly African American town of Cresdell was without running water until incorporated with Matthews in the 1980s. Many of the residents were laid to rest in this historic cemetery. I found a quote from a Mr. Harvey Boyd, a descendant of the mayor of Cresdell, who pushed for running water in the area. Mr. Boyd knows the cemetery well because he has many family members buried here. The oldest is his great-grandfather, Calvin Henry Boyd, who was born a slave and died a free man. The tangible examples of the rural African American experience in Mecklenburg County is dwelling today. Their history is a rich history covering 2 centuries and based on themes such as family, religion, and shared struggle to overcome the constraints of Jim Crow segregation. Roseland Cemetery is not only an excellent example of the rural African American experience in Mecklenburg County, it is also a vehicle by which the story can be told. The first dedicated cemetery for the African American citizens of Matthews, while today is overly grown and partially forgotten amid the rapid change taking place around it. It is a hidden gem of historical information. James Baldwin wrote that history is not a procession of illustrious people. It's about what happens to people. Millions of anonymous people is what history is about. Roseland Cemetery contains within its boundaries the story of average people who lived in challenging and changing times, and who shaped history simply by living it. Through their shared experiences as rural African Americans, a rich narrative is formed. To ignore their collective contributions to the world in which they lived would be an insult to them and their successes they celebrated and struggles they endured. To that end, their contributions should be recognized however possible. In addition, as examples of the rural African American built environment becomes even less frequent today, preservation of what remains of history becomes a paramount concern. Designation of Roseland Cemetery as a local historic landmark would be one way to address this issue. It would bring attention to the collective contributions of rural African Americans. As Black History Month comes to an end, I encourage you to stay curious about history and continue to learn as I plan to do. There are so many more cemeteries I plan to visit in the coming weeks to learn more about the African American community that helped shape Mecklenburg today.